Great to have a new co-major sponsor on board, and what a way to welcome them.
Yeah, it's a fantastic view up here, the best view of Brisbane, and I'm just excited by the fact that with a company like So, who are growing and just starting out, as Swanee mentioned, they're much like us, a young team on the improve, and I congratulate you on joining our journey, because it's going to be an exciting one.
Were you at training? Have you been to training so far since you've been back from overseas?
We had training yesterday morning. Yeah.
How have you found the boys and everything tracking?
Yeah, well, I was sort of watching our 1 to 4 years guys training on our website, and I was really pleased with the way everyone turned up yesterday. Everyone was in great shape. There was a lot of enthusiasm in training, and it's funny, I was sitting there contrasting it to what it was like 2 years ago when I first turned up, and the change in the group has been outstanding, to say the least. The intensity with which we train, our voice at training, our understanding of what we need to do to play at the elite level has really come on over those 2 years. So I was just pleased to sit back and watch that yesterday, and felt good about it for the coaches, because they've worked hard on that, and really excited for the players because they've taken ownership of it.
Can you just talk a little bit about your trip overseas and what you achieved over there?
Yeah, well, I did a lot of things in 9 days. I went to Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club, who were in the EPL, went to English Rugby Union team training camp, and did a practice round of golf with Francesco Molinari, the British Open winner. Not that I played myself. I did give him plenty of advice on his game though, which I'm sure will help him, but did a range of different things. I think what it does when you go away is it just stimulates you to think. You see some different environments, and you try to work out ways that you might be able to bring some of those ideas into your own place. And other than the jet lag, it's really refreshed me, and I'm looking forward to the year.
Working with, or seeing Eddie Jones in action with the English side, did you get any sort of tips from him? Of course, he knows Brisbane and the landscape. Yeah,
well, it was interesting to see. Eddie's recently changed his philosophy, I reckon, to have more player involvement in what he does, and that's sort of been the pathway we've been following here from the day that I arrived, and it was just good to see another team at international level using the same methodology. It was pretty reinforcing, to be honest. To watch them train, the intensity with which they trained, it's a pretty physical game, rugby union, and they weren't holding back at the session I was at. It was their main session of the week, and it was just interesting to see all that, and the interaction between coaches. And of course Neil Craig's there from Adelaide Crows. He now works for English Rugby Union, but becoming a bit of a trader, going to the motherland. But he was very helpful on that as well. Neil, he sort of gave me open access to everything.
How's the new bloke settling in?
Lockie's a real professional. He trained yesterday, just fitted in as part of the group. He's here for a reason. He wants to help make us better, and I think that he will, that's for sure. We're excited to have him, and I know he's looking forward to the challenge as well.
What were you thinking yesterday, Chris, when you saw Lockie and Marcus, and it was the first time you've been along Jared Lyons? Like, you've got your whole squad there and all these new faces and guys that obviously have enough confidence to want to join Brisbane.
Yeah, it was exciting. It's been a turnaround for the footy club, I guess, over the last few years, to see the number of players that are now keen to come to Brisbane. The exciting part about the 4 boys that we've got here is that all at a good age, around 25, 26, which adds to the experience of our group. And they've all been at clubs that have achieved relative success. So you look at Marcus Adams has been at the Bulldogs and probably would have played in their grand final team had he not been injured. Lockie's been at Fremantle and played in a lot of finals, including a grand final. You got Jared Lyons, who's been at the Adelaide Crows, and of course Link McCarthy, who's been down at Geelong. So they all come out of good systems, and they're going to bring something to the group, and we're certainly going to work pretty hard at mining those guys for their ideas and what they've seen at those clubs, so we can incorporate things that may well help us going forward.
I know you're big on embracing a bit more expectation next year. It's obviously very early, but how far can the team go in the next 12 months, do you think? Yeah,
no limits on us. We obviously want to improve on what we've done over the last few years, so winning 5 games is not going to be acceptable again, but I'm not going to put a number to it. We just want to continue to improve. We were very close to doing that last year with I think it played half a dozen games where we lost by 7 points or less, so we're not too far away, but we can't just assume that the improvement we made last year will follow on. We've got to keep looking for ways to improve and challenge ourselves. So if we can do that, and we have a good run with injury, which is always critical to any team, I think we can climb up the ladder.
just one on your former skipper. I don't think you've spoken since trade period. Like, would it have been nice to have Dane here for another year with Lockie coming in? Like, it was a pretty tantalising midfield potentially.
It's a fair question to ask. So probably what I would ask is that it's the last time it be asked, because Beams is not with us anymore. He's a Collingwood player, so it's really up to Collingwood and Dane to talk. My feelings about it, I have two emotions: happiness and disappointment. All right. So the happiness bit is that, you know, chatting to Beamsy late in the trade period, where he rang me up and wanted to talk about moving to Collingwood. He, you know, as we know, has had some battles with mental health, and he struggled with that. And he honestly felt that moving back to Melbourne, back to his old club, would help him get better. So from that point of view, I hope that happens, and I'm happy for him if it does. I was happy for us that we were able to, out of that period, get 2 first-round draft picks for Dane. It's a pretty good return for a guy who's 29, that we're able to get Collingwood's first-round pick this year and next year. So really happy there with the job that Dom Ambrogio and Nobes did in terms of being strategic and enabling that deal. The disappointing bit, I guess, is for all of us at the club, we all know internally just how much we supported Dane and Clay and his family through what was a really difficult time last year. And I suppose deep down you hope that investment, that genuine investment, would be returned in terms of loyalty. But I understand the situation that Dane was in, and you know, he's probably weighing up what's best: my loyalty to Brisbane or my mental health and the well-being of my family. And I think he naturally chose that, and so he's moved back to Melbourne. But they're the two things: happiness and disappointment. And I think I speak on behalf of everybody at the club on those two emotions. And as I say, I hope that's the last time I have to answer a question about it, because he's no longer one of our players. But I appreciate why you asked it. Yeah.
Purely from a playing point, you must be at least confident now that you can overcome the loss of, you know, a very classy player, and Dane obviously with Lockie coming in, and the other younger midfielders, if they continue their part, I guess you're in a good position to.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at Jarrett Berry and Hugh McCluggage and Starcevic and Bailey and Cam Rayner and those guys. I mean, we're going to expect improvement out of that. We've added Lockie and we've added Jarrett Lyons, and Jarrett Lyons statistically is an exceptionally good stoppage and contested ball player. I think we've got that well and truly covered, and the truth is that good players leave clubs. I was at Hawthorn when Lance Franklin left, and everyone thought the world was going to end when Lance Franklin left, and Hawthorn won the next 2 flags, and there's lots of examples of that I can pull out. So it's a team game, and it's how well we work together that will decide our level of performance next year and how far we go, not what individual players we have at our club or not at our club.